Hi, I'm actor Ian Champion, and welcome to History of Horror Cinema, my personal podcast tour of the good, bad, and the ugly of horror movie history. If you like what you hear, please don't forget to hit subscribe. Blackmail, 1929. A sound decision. 1929 was a big year for Alfred Hitchcock. He'd already demonstrated a flair for suspense and style with The Lodger 2 years before, as we saw in episode 233. And after some less interesting projects, he was ready for the newest challenge in the business, the coming of sound. Like Hollywood, the British film industry was highly fearful of the new technology, and the epic cost of converting all the picture houses to a medium they couldn't be sure would stay. The release of The Jazz Singer in 1928 swept aside all doubts and forced studios to move with the times. Hitchcock was an early adopter. According to his assistant cameraman Ronald Neame, he was way ahead of the game. He just loved the idea of using sound. His bosses at British International Pictures were as forward-thinking as he was in investing in refurbishing the stages at Elstree. Sound didn't immediately transform films that were in production. Studios retained a little caution by carefully augmenting just the key scenes with dialogue or music. The head of BIP, John Maxwell, boldly announced nevertheless that Blackmail would top-line their slate of new films for the forthcoming year that would embrace sound. Blackmail was based on a West End play by Charles Brackett. Its pedigree wasn't initially inspiring. The London run flopped after only 38 performances, even with Hollywood star Tallulah Bankhead as the lead. Even so, it was still considered attractive enough to be developed by BIP, albeit with substantial changes. These were worked on by Hitchcock and his writers in a typically protracted pre-production process. Patrick McGilligan's invaluable biography, A Life in Darkness and Light, details how rigorously he tested material in a multi-stage process, beginning with a brief descriptive logline, or weenie as Hollywood calls it, that was then expanded into a treatment almost the same length as a script, but crucially without any dialogue at this stage. Hitchcock was obsessed with the telling of a robust story under scrutiny, and repeatedly he and his writers went back and forth retelling it to iron out issues of logic, motives, etc. Whilst he was keen to use sound, he still imagined the movie unfolding in his mind's eye visually. In an interview, he revealed his working method as, "Oh, I make it before the script. The script is the second stage. There is such a thing as over-preparing, though. I heard a tale once of an actor who noticed Hitchcock seemed bored on set one day between scenes. When he asked why, the director confessed that, since he'd mapped out the film in very precise shot-by-shot storyboards, I've already done it." So what exactly was this plot that was so endlessly reworked? Well, Blackmail is a web of intrigue wherein 4 different characters each succumb to the temptation of corruption. A Chelsea artist invites a young woman, Alice, back to his flat on the pretext of asking her to model for him. She does this behind her boyfriend's back. When the painter tries to rape her, she kills him in self-defense. The murder is seen by a witness who attempts to blackmail her. We then discover Alice's boyfriend is a Scotland Yard detective, who, upon realizing she is the killer, based on the glove she left behind in the flat, decides to frame the blackmailer. Hitchcock felt that the third act of the play needed something special, to replace its original cop-out ending in which it's revealed that the artist actually died from a heart attack, not at her hands. Tallulah Bankhead must have hated this denouement as well, because she had the published version changed from the stage production so that Alice ultimately confesses all to the cops. Hitchcock also preferred this ending, but BPI wouldn't let him use it to protect their leading lady, Annie Andra's, image. The director now needed to find a creative writer to get him out of this spot. Fortunately, not only was he a good judge of talent, but as we saw with The Lodger, so was his wife Alma. Onto their radar came Michael Balcon, who at 23 was years away from his own stellar directing career, culminating in the surprisingly modern horror classic Peeping Tom. When asked by Hitchcock what he could bring to Blackmail, he breezily offered, "To hell with the third act, we'll make it a chase." He conceived a climax with the blackmailer escaping from police into the dramatic interior of the British Museum. He was also self-assured enough to claim credit in later years for kickstarting the classic Hitchcock Big Finish at such grand locations as Mount Rushmore and the Statue of Liberty. Regardless, it was an exciting departure from the stage-bound original. The ending was further developed with at least a bid from Alice to turn herself in. Even though the police decide it's a closed case, with the discovery of the blackmailer's existing criminal record, her guilt tortures her into a full confession. But her boyfriend whisks her away before she can incriminate herself. She must now live with the guilt unresolved. So too did Hitchcock. Looking back with Peter Bogdanovich, he regarded this as one of the many battles he lost to compromise with his employers. One choice he was able to push through was retaining Annie Ondra from The Manxman to play Alice. Now, casting her as a young Englishwoman suggested he intended Blackmail as a purely silent movie, since her native, quite strong Czechoslovakian accent couldn't be dubbed during the infancy of sound technology. Hitchcock, however, prepared both silent and sound versions, and addressed the problem in two ways. Firstly, he made a screen test with Ondra, so she might agree with him how inappropriate she sounded. The results reveal as much about Hitchcock as his leading lady, so rather than quote a transcript, let's listen to the full audio of that little test from the BFI archives. Please excuse the poor quality of the source recording.
Now, Miss Ondra, you asked me to let you hear your voice on the talking picture.
But Hitch, you mustn't do that.
Why not?
Well, because I can speak well.
Do you realize the squad band will be here any moment?
No, really. Oh, my God, I'm terribly frightened.
Why? Have you been a bad woman or something?
Well, not just bad, but...
But you've slept with men.
Oh, no!
You have not. Come here. Stand in your place. Otherwise, it will not come out right, as the girl said to the soldier. That's enough.
In our current climate, Hitchcock's mischievous, prurient comments may well be considered unacceptable, yet it's clear that between him and Miss Ondra there was a genuinely fond byplay, that at times sounds like an indulgent schoolmaster reprimanding a naughty pupil. Naughty to him, that is. Their friendship extended many years after their work together. According to Patrick McGilligan, there was allegedly more filmed footage of Hitchcock raising her skirt and going for her underwear, but I couldn't get my hands on it, as it were. For what it's worth, allegedly the director was equally game for a little awkward fun when auditioning male actors too. Leaving aside the questionable definition of testing his talent, Hitchcock demonstrated a sincere loyalty to Ondra. Rather than replace her with a British actress, which would have been so much easier, he took the painstaking route of having her mouth her part silently, while new actress Joan Barry spoke her lines in sync off-camera. You just have to excuse the fact that now Alice's accent is too posh for a working girl. Despite Hitchcock's embrace of the new medium, the demands of sound created unique logistical difficulties in the early days. Watch Singing in the Rain, which depicts this period only too well, with the hilarious and punishing attempts to conceal mics on set, and the poor cameramen sweltering inside booths that were soundproof to dampen the noise of motor-driven cameras. It was all very clumsy in this brave new world. For Hitchcock, there was the added drag of needing to be removed from the actors in his own sound booth to check the audio quality. When the Duke and Duchess of York paid a royal visit to the set, the director demonstrated the cramped confines by squeezing up against the future Queen Mother inside the camera booth. It was almost a matter of committing lèse-majesté, he recalled, for once being on his best behavior. Unlike his peers, though, Hitchcock faced these technical challenges with the prescience to see the extra dimension sound afforded for adding information and editing possibilities, cross-cutting between image and sound. The famous scene with the gossipy neighbor in the family shop after Alice's homicide showed how inventively this could enhance character and mood. In a tight close-up of Ondra's face, her eyebrows jump every time the busybody stresses the word knife off-screen, each jolt like a stab to Alice's heart. Here's an effect that a silent movie couldn't achieve. Ondra's overall performance amply rewards Hitchcock's faith in her, whilst she suffers from a tendency to indicate her lines, as though cueing Barry to speak. When not speaking, her expressiveness is highly effective. She channels a memorably wicked coquettishness when signaling to the artist her availability for a private rendezvous, which then transforms into a state of catatonic shock after murdering him, and all the while earning our sympathy. Donald Calthorpe is also sublime as the blackmailer. He takes his time savoring his sleazy power over Frank and Alice. Watch his extended appreciation of his new cigar in her father's shop. He gives a lesson in making the most of what may well have been slim pickings on the page. Credit must also go to Hitchcock for allowing him the space and time to gloat with such delicious evil. Whilst we're discussing appearances, let's not forget Hitchcock's cameo role, now firmly established after The Lodger and Easy Virtue. In Blackmail, he's a prim tube passenger sharing a carriage with Frank and Alice, trying to read his book when a cheeky boy tweaks his hat down over his ears. His indignation at remonstrating with the mother and eyeing the boy nervously afterwards is entertaining. Over time, Hitchcock enjoyed finding creative ways to insert himself. Even within the confines of Lifeboat in 1944, he manages to make an appearance in a newspaper advert for a weight loss product. Once filming was done, the race was on for the coveted marketing angle of being the first talkie released in Britain, so a hasty post-production process was needed to prepare first a sound version released in July, and then soon after a silent edition. Competitors claimed they deserved the title, but pretenders White Cargo and Kitty were only partially sound-capable in sequences. Blackmail's box office success in Britain bore out the hard work of its creators in adapting to the risk of new technology. The Bioscope's review summed it up. This is neither the mere adaptation of a stage play to the screen, nor a silent film fitted with stage dialogue, and it may well be that Mr. Hitchcock has solved the problem of combining the two, and helped towards assigning the true position of the sound film in the ranks of entertainment. The aftermath, however, was bitter. BPI was forced to announce hard-hitting cuts, owing to the backlog of silent movies that now went into cold storage with an uncertain future. America proved resistant to British product and its native accents, and even Commonwealth audiences such as in Australia gave Blackmail the cold shoulder of censorship. But Alfred Hitchcock soldiered on, as we shall see. Thanks for listening. If you like what you hear, please don't forget to hit subscribe.